19 Investigates recently broke the story that there have been some new developments in the infamous torso killings. In the latest episode of our true crime podcast, Dark Side of the Land, we take an in-depth look at the unsolved murders. It's been nearly 90 years since the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run stalked his way through the streets of Cleveland. Back then, no one really knew what a serial killer was. It was a dark time for our city for a number of reasons. It was Depression-era Cleveland, the 1930s. To say that life was difficult in the city is an understatement. And in the midst of that joblessness and despair came the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, the torso murders. The work of a madman who found his victims in the shanty towns of Cleveland's east side. Those shanty towns were basically homeless encampments. Some claim there were 12 victims, others put the number at 13, but only 2 were ever positively identified. Searching for those killers, Elliot Ness, the city's safety director. Ness, as a federal agent, helped take down the notorious Al Capone. One of the current experts in the case is Dr. James Badal. He's written 3 books on the torso murders, including a deep dive into contributions to the case from Ness.
I think Elliot Ness was smart enough to realize quite early on that this was something that was beyond his experience.
Dr. Badal, Dr. Thomas Gilson, the current Cuyahoga County medical examiner, and Maisie Adams, the executive director of the Cleveland Police Historical Society and Museum, will all add their expertise to our Dark Side of the Land podcast. The case and the investigation still, in many ways, reverberates through current investigations.
In the summer of 1936, they held what they called the Torso Clinic. And Elliot Ness brought in Gerber, the other pathologists who had worked on the case, the police who had worked on it, and also brought the heads of the various mental institutions in. And as far as I can tell, this has got to be one of the very first examples of what we would recognize today as FBI profiling. And they came up with a reasonable profile of who they were dealing with. The problem was they were very reluctant to say, well, Jesus could be a doctor. Well, could be a hunter or could be a butcher. But they sort of shied away from the notion that it might be a doctor.
That was a mistake.
Oh, yes.
This was a case that captivated and frightened the city, and the group that we have put together for this podcast brings together unprecedented knowledge to take an in-depth look at the killings. We will also explore the news we broke in the last 2 weeks that the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner will be exhuming multiple victims as they work through new breakthroughs in DNA. No one was ever convicted, so who was the killer? We work towards that answer. Our latest podcast episode of The Dark Side of the Land, The Torso Killer. You can listen right now on our website and the 19 News mobile app or wherever you get your podcasts.